What makes a good keyboard? Is it the sound? Is it the feel? Is it the typing experience? Or perhaps the features? Well, it's actually a lot. So today I'm going to go through all those on a keyboard called the Neo 75CU. I'm going to start with one of the most overlooked details in keyboards, the typing angle and height. The Neo 75CU has a 7-degree typing angle with a front height of 16.8mm. Now of course, typing angle and height, we all have different preferences based on what we are used to, but to me these measurements are pretty comfortable. It is nothing out of the ordinary that will hurt your wrists. Next, let's move on if the keyboard does a good job at being a keyboard. How does it sound? So I did a very basic build. It does sound very clean and very crisp. If you didn't know, Neo series boards are made to be built without foam. And personally, I have never tried a Neo board before this, and I find this honestly really impressive. And because the Neo series doesn't really rely on foam when you're building in it, the biggest factor that can change how your Neo board will sound is its plates. So we have 5 different plate materials that are being offered. We have PP, POM, aluminum, carbon fiber and FR4. For myself, I took PP and aluminum because with these 2 plate materials, I would be able to create something deep sounding or something very light sounding. Which also brings me to the mounting of this keyboard. This is not a mount that I have seen on other boards. It's pretty unique, but it's some sort of a gasket sock mount. Especially when a board doesn't have foam, you can expect a board to have a good amount of flex, especially if it's gasket mounted. And it usually tends to end up a little mushy. But with the Neo 75CU, it actually turns out pretty lively and very soft. I'm not sure if that's the best way to describe it, but that's how it feels. So yeah, with the PP plate combined with the mounting of the board and the plus point of the Neo series boards not using foam, the comfort of the typing experience and based on how soft it is, I feel like it's one of the strongest selling points of the Neo 75CU. And if you're not into the PP plate, maybe you're more interested in a clackier sound profile or a lighter sound profile, you would be going for a stiffer plate like carbon fiber or aluminum. And they actually thought this through. So basically with the same gaskets that they provide, with a stiffer plate, you can use this mount called the isolated bottom mount. It's basically the same thing as a top mount, but instead of screwing the plate and the PCB onto your top, you will be screwing it onto the bottom frame. So with different mounting and different plates, you will be able to achieve a variety of different sound profiles, and this is before we even talk about how are you gonna use foam to shape how the keyboard sounds. So especially for those of you who are going for a POM plate or a PP plate like I did, you want to go for that deep creamy sounding keyboard, then the foam itself will really help shape the keyboard sound. So here's a bunch of different sound tests that I've tried with different switches and different configurations. So in terms of sound and how the keyboard feels, the Neo 75CU actually does a really good job at it. And I feel like this is thanks to its case. The case itself is done really well. It has no ping, no hollow sounds. It doesn't sound dead without all the foam, which I think is one of the biggest struggles most keyboards face when we're trying to do a foamless build. And on top of all that, I'm gonna move on to the features of this board. For the easiest assembly and disassembly process, the ball catch system on a housing paired with a magnetic daughter board, it's a very simple process building or changing plates. There's no need to worry about GST cables. It's basically zero cables to worry about. These two features are the peak of assembly or disassembly features. As for our PCB, we have nothing to worry about. We have a 5-pin hot swappable PCB with south-facing sockets via programmable. There's nothing to complain about. Since the board is going for that more minimalist or classic look, it also does not have perky RGB, which I personally really like. And since we're on the topic of looks, let's talk about the design of the board. What's the point of a good keyboard if it looks ugly, right? Well, this keyboard is definitely not ugly. The Neo 75 is very minimal with nice details. It's nothing too extravagant, especially with the colorway I have black and brass. Is one of the most classic combos on custom keyboards. Paired with a GMK white and black, it's basically a perfect look to me. For those of you who think this looks like a Dell keyboard or like some office keyboard, then no you. The main overall character of the board is that it has that very classic look, but it also has very small slight details to keep things interesting. There's nothing screaming at you with big logos or big weights whatsoever. It's just very slight details that pair very well with the overall design. Now for the price, it starts at $190. To me, that's a pretty fair price point. I think with the amount of detail that goes into the board and how the board was made, all the features that it has, how it sounds, how it feels, and all the accessories that it comes with, I think it's a very fair price point. I feel like the main selling point about Neo series boards is the foamless experience, because nowadays almost, I would say 90% of the boards we see being released depend a lot on foam to sound good, especially like Rainy 75, Bridge 75. All these boards are very foamy, guskety, thocky, creamy sound profiles. So the best way to put it, if you're interested in a foamless board experience or a foamless board build, then the Neo 75CU is something you should consider. And although this is definitely possible for those of you who are looking for entry-level keyboard and you think you really like how the keyboard looks, you really like how the keyboard sounds, then this is definitely a very good entry-level keyboard you can go for. But I definitely feel like it's more for those who are looking to upgrade from a Rainy 75 or Bridge 75. You're tired of that foamy sound, you're trying to get out of that creamy, thocky, marbly sound profile, and you want to go for that classic custom keyboard look to it, then I think the Neo 75CU is the perfect transition. So if you're interested, the board will be linked down below. They have a whole bunch of different colors available and many vendors to suit the specific region that you are living in. So hopefully there's a vendor near you so that your shipping costs are a little lower. But aside from that, we have come to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Neo 75, the Neo series, something I am honestly really impressed about in 2024. And I hope I get to review more of these boards in the future. But aside from that, like this video if you enjoyed this video, comment your thoughts on the Neo 75CU down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.